Hey, what's up everybody? Lawler here, your inside source for all things Rocket League. A little bit of a different video here as we are starting a new series, and this one is probably going to get a little bit heated. I ended up putting out a tweet recently, and if you guys haven't seen it, I'd ask you guys, what is your Rocket League hill you're willing to die on? What's a popular or unpopular opinion that you're willing to defend? Like how unspoken rule 1 is keeping the ball up versus bumper to bumper lock. Let me know in the replies. And boy, oh boy, did you guys have some replies, a whole lot of them, and we're going to be turning those into a new series. And as always, feedback and stuff is greatly appreciated. Anytime you guys have opinions or things like that, or things you would like me to discuss, things you would like me to apply my opinion on, whether it be esports related or just casual Rocket League, let me know down below, because your feedback is going to ultimately decide what are the things I talk about in the future. So if you guys ever see one of these videos of this series come out, in the comments, let me know what you'd like me to talk about next, as it is greatly appreciated. But with that said, I'm here to tell you why the majority of this community is desperately wrong, and keeping the ball up at 0 seconds is rule number 1. So I know what you're thinking, and there's been polls and all this other garbage put out where people are talking about why rule 1 is bumper to bumper. And I'm here to tell you, and I'm going to sit on this hill, this fence, whatever you want to call it, and let you all know you are so unbelievably wrong in this. If you come into a new game, if you are, which a lot of you are, free to play or brand new players of this game, and a bunch of people who have been here since day one, whether it be myself, professional players, players of the predecessor in StartBC like Krenovi and Cookser and otherwise, who have actively stated that the original rule 1 is keeping the ball up at 0 seconds, and you still question it, you make me lose a little bit of faith in you. I don't mean that to be mean, but if you have people that you respect and who have been here since the very beginning, and they tell you, no, this is the actual rule, and then your opinion is still, it's bumper to bumper, something is clearly wrong. Back when this game first came out, July 2015, people like myself and many others realized quickly that this game does not translate from any other game. It is very difficult. There is nothing like an FPS skill that comes over. You are learning from scratch. And because of that, we all kind of sucked. And the unspoken rule, remember that, nobody talked about it because it is an unspoken rule, which is the complete opposite of what everybody does on Reddit and polls and stuff like that, is they continue to talk about it. But we didn't have to, because we all knew that it was keep the ball up. In those early lobbies, before many of you played this game, the whole point was to keep the ball up in the air because 1, it was really difficult to do because people couldn't aerial back then, and 2, it just made the game more fun. It was this very much so arcadey fun, hanging out with the guys, kind of like playing and sitting down with some like Super Smash Brothers where nobody was actually really good. You were just smashing buttons and having a fun time. And that was the feeling Rocket League first came out with. And I do agree the game has evolved much past that. But I'm telling you, the original rule 1 was to keep the ball up. A lot of people want to argue, no, it's rule 0. Since when do you count with rules starting with 0? Also doesn't make sense. I agree that it makes sense for your argument, but your argument is stupid in the first place. So that's besides the point. What I'm trying to tell you is keeping the ball up at 0 seconds not only was the original thing for anybody who has been playing this game since the early days of 2015, but it still persists in ranked as well as the pro scene, even though people don't like to admit it. They see in professional play in the RLCS, people lock bumper to bumper, and usually that person loses because it's a stupid thing to do at a competitive way. But in rule 0, yes, people will slam the ball down as well. So that kind of neutralizes it. There is also times in competitive play when people lock bumper to bumper, and they keep that going. But at the same time, anytime a team is up by a few goals and they recognize that they cannot win in the series, I want to see you go and look and check how many times the teams either keep it up, bring it back down the other side of the field, and try to score. It may not feel as elongated as bumper to bumper, but that's because people have gotten so good. A player from NRG or whatever could slam the ball from the corner and play it all the way down the other side of the field, and they score within a couple seconds. But it is still keeping the ball up. The evolution that you guys are talking about of keeping the ball up is no longer just playing volleyball for 10 minutes. It is ending in a goal, and the ball is perpetually forever being left up because it never hits the ground, because it goes in the net. So again, the whole keeping the ball up at 0 seconds thing has and will always be rule number 1, and that is the hill I will sit on forever. Some people in the replies say that here's why rule 1 is locking cars. Majority of the player base can't keep the ball up. How is that our fault? The whole point of keeping the ball up is why it was the rule. Nobody could do it well, so that's what made us want to do it. So don't know what you're going on about there. Also, how many times does a team up by only 1 goal want to keep the ball up? How many times when you're up by 1 in a nail biter, if it's the world championship of RLCS and Justin and Fairy Peak are locked bumper to bumper, do you think they're going to stay that way when there's $100,000 plus on the line? No, because they've broken out of it. Justin has done it numerous times in the big level moments.
Play into the midfield, and now rule number 1. No, Justin's not going to respect it this time. Turbo did it 2 times during the regular season, and the boos from the crowd. They're not happy about breaking the rules.
Which also counters what you're talking about. Which rule is followed more in the pro scene? Arguably, I think keeping it up at 0 seconds, because it happens any single time the ball ends up in the back of the net when it's getting down to the wire. Yes, I will agree. Both sides do lock it down. I will say that some people do bumper to bumper. But again, it happens both collectively more than you would think. They then say locking cars can be done by all players, unlike keeping the ball up. That's just a reiteration of your first rule saying that it's difficult. And just because most people can't do it doesn't mean the rule is any less effective. Now, I will say someone does bring an interesting argument to this, which I think is still compromising, and maybe that's why my fence-sitting capabilities come into question. But they do say the first rule of Rocket League is to keep the ball up in the air at 0 seconds. I can't even say it. I edit all this out, Wojtek. I can't even fucking say it. The colloquial used term Rule 1 just refers to an instance of 2 cars locking bumpers and mutually agreeing in an unspoken way to stay there until Rule 1 is bumped to go happen. Nope, that's dumb. Never mind. That didn't make sense. I thought they were going to say it in the sense of like, it's an unspoken agreement that multiple people are agreeing upon one thing, which isn't the case. Big sad. Some of the other comments do talk about that bumper-to-bumper lock is so stupid regardless whether you call it Rule 1 or 2, and some do think it is just dumb altogether. I want to play Rocket League, not rub against another car. We'll die on this hill. And honestly, respect, man. I think ultimately unspoken rules are meant to be fun, and I guess that's where I'm going in this video. Is it does feel like with a lot of these active polls coming through, there's a lot of people that, even though it's an unspoken rule, because there is a conflicting opinion, is why people have had to speak up. And when you look at both sides of it, you look at the OGs as compared to the new people. I feel the issue is because when you come into a new game, if I'm not well versed in this new game, I'm going to ask someone who has been around for a long time. I'm not talking about my favorite pro, my favorite person, because there is a chance they came in pretty late. I'm going to ask the OGs, the guys that have been around since the very beginning. And the issue is there are some OGs that have gotten annoyed by it and conceded, talking to you, Leaf. Or there is other people like myself that, again, remember the good old days of Rocket League and are going to stay that way. And it's kind of just a feeling of like a boomer get off my lawn kind of situation, which I don't think helps anybody in their arguments. So I do feel that Rule 1 will and always will be, to me, keeping the ball up at 0 seconds. But if you've got a bunch of new kids coming in, and if we're going to use the phrase Zoomers, they can believe whatever they want to believe. And if it's bumper to bumper and they're throwing their games, that's fine too. So I do and will stand my ground. I think keeping the ball up at 0 seconds will and always will be rule number 1. But again, this is going to be a new series. We're going to be taking a lot of heated topics like this. And again, I urge you guys, for anybody in the comments, if there's something that you like, dislike, if this is a series, if there's other topics you would like me to tackle, leave those comments down below. We have like 150 some replies, maybe 200 replies. So there is a lot of things for me to cover. We've got other stuff like other unspoken rules like left always goes that we'll be discussing. There's other things about solo standard because for some reason, some stupid person was like, bring back solo standard. That's going to be a fun rant and probably a short one, being completely honest. Probably could do it right now, but again, this is going to be a learning experience for me because it's very weird to do opinion pieces like this. But anybody who comments, leaves an opinion down in the comments below is going to help me decide what we discuss, whether it be on this video or other ones. If you recommend something like that, I am almost always paying attention to those to make sure that we can continue to provide content that you guys want. But a new series that's supposed to be a little bit more lighthearted, even though it's very strong opinions on things, but it should be a fun one moving forward. So with that said, I do respect your guys' opinions. I do think that the arguments between Rule 1 and stuff, I get it. But I'm just here to tell you that if you think bumper to bumper is Rule 1, you're wrong. We'll catch you next time.